So welcome everyone to today's social system mapping OnRamp session for July 8th, 2027. So your hosts today are me, Christine Capra, and Kara Martner, as usual. Kara might be off screen much of today because she's not feeling great. And our agenda today is we're going to do some chat intros in just a moment. Then we're going to do what we did last month, which is I'm still calling it a new approach for OnRamp sessions. I think that means maybe Tom and maybe Richard want to be thinking about if they want to participate in this new approach. They know what I'm talking about, I think. We'll get there. We'll share in this new approach. We'll include sharing a social system map, one of 3 social system maps with everyone present, and then we'll stop for questions and answers. And for those of you who are new to this context, we do a sort of a structured, relatively structured first hour session, and then we stick around, or I'll at least stick around for an extra half an hour for anyone else who wants to stay and has more different questions that didn't fit in the time, or just want to connect with other people or just chat. So that's a optional post-session half hour. So if you are interested in that, just stick around when we have a little goodbye ritual sign-off time. So let's go ahead and get started with our introductions. In the chat, if you would. I'm going to stop sharing here. Put in the chat your name, pronoun, location. We are still having coming and going. Welcome, Christy. We're just getting started. We're putting in the chat. Oh, hi, welcome. Glad you could find us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're just putting in the chat, we're putting our name, our pronoun, and our location. And then once you've done that, what's a primary network that you're part of or working with? We assume that you've got some kind of network intentions or involvement, or you probably wouldn't be here. And once you've done that, what brings you here today? What are you hoping to get? Learning and community, yay. And we have Maria's from Italy, and we just lost someone from Italy. Oh, Christy, no, not Christy. Anna Pia's in Italy too, which is either you know each other or it's an interesting coincidence. Oh, you know each other, okay. Maria, you're muted. It looks like you're talking, but
we work in the same department,
that,
but in different area.
That explains that. Cool. Okay, so if you just take a moment, if you haven't already, just to see what each other's working on, and just in our hearts appreciate the range geographically and issue-wise and topic-wise of what we're all working on, and while there's a range, there's also an underlying intent for system change and making the world better that they all are focused on in one way or another. So just appreciating that. Okay, so what we usually do for these sessions, the point of these sessions, of this particular, the OnRamp session, which is the second Monday of the month, is for people who have not seen a social system map get to be introduced to a social system map that they can, you know, watch someone navigate through, and they can see the interactivity of it, and they can kind of see what the general concept looks like. Often we try very hard to have someone from our community of practice who has made a map or is working on a map share that map with us, so that we are not only seeing a map, we're seeing new maps, and we're seeing, you know, we've got different people. We can ask them questions about how they did this, they did that. We can see different examples of it. And that's our ideal, but we don't always get what we want. And sometimes no one has a map that they're willing to share at this point in time, or that they're available to share. And so we have a little handful of maps that when that happens, I pull out one of the 3 maps that my partner and I have worked on that are publicly available, so I can share them. I'd say 90% of the maps that my partner and I work on are private. And so while I have lots of map examples that I could share, I can't. So, I mean, that are cool and interesting, I can't share them. So we have 3 that we sort of have been cycling through. And for brand new people who've never seen a social system map, that's fine. It's not a big deal, because you're still seeing a map. And so it's just those of us who've been around for a while who are getting some redundancy. And but I get bored sharing the same 3 maps every month. And so recently it dawned on me, oh, I'm bored, but other people who are still learning mapping, still getting comfortable with mapping, actually could probably use some experience doing a map walkthrough, because it's one thing to make a map, and it's another thing to try and succinctly walk through people in a short time frame through a map. And so I started this last month, and Tom was my very courageous volunteer. and so what we did was we had someone else do the walkthrough. And so since we don't have today, again, we have the same thing where we don't have a map to share. And so I thought we'd try this again. And there are, Mary, I don't know if you would consider it, but you're muted. And I'm not asking you to. I'm kind of guessing that you don't want to, and I don't want to put that kind of pressure on you. I'm just double checking in case my assumption is incorrect.
I'm just waking up and you're on the West Coast, but I'd be happy to be part of a panel if you want to make it
Not going there.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. There's enough to try and cram in that
Yeah.
us to impromptu navigate trying to figure out how to do a panel together in this short period of time feels like too much for me to try to do. So that leaves Tom, and I thought maybe Richard would be Denise, do you have, how much do you have filters and any, do you?
I have 3
Okay.
views I could show, and I have filters.
Let's do it.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Let me just 1 second though. I just want to check. Tom, Richard, would you have been willing? Because I know I'm calling you out and putting you on the spot.
No, it's okay. I would have been willing, but honestly, I'm in the middle of doing my family reunion, and I'm doing all of that, so it's kind of been frying my brain. But my father was a Toastmaster, but I have never been. So.
Well, the reason I was asking is just to know if I should another time check in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Another time, I am more than willing to do that.
Okay.
But not today.
Got it. Okay. Well, Denise, I am thrilled that you have volunteered. And so let's go ahead, and what I'd like to, and I would like to invite you to just spend a few minutes with some background and context, and then aim to spend 15 to 20 minutes sort of going through, and I know you haven't prepared for this, you haven't probably, odds are, done this before in a really quick way. And so everyone will cut you lots of slack. And I find it really good practice to just jump in and discover what happens and get comfortable, because I can't tell you how many times we've done, dozens of hours of work, and the upshot is I'm asked to present the map for 5 or 10 minutes to a plenary, to a big, a few hundred people in a big room, and I just throw myself in there and boom, and that's like my big shot. And I kind of hate it. It doesn't feel fair at all to give the map so little attention. But that is not an impossible thing, and getting okay with that and just kind of saying, okay, I'm just going to do boom, 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 and then we'll be done, is a good practice if you're a mapper. So are you okay with all that?
I'm totally okay with that. Yep.
And then we'll try to end like 20 minutes to the top of the hour. We'll try to, in fact, I'll just pause you there. And then we will, what I would like the rest of us to do, those of you who are brand new to mapping, really, you can just be looking at what she's sharing and coming up with your questions. And for anybody who also has the bandwidth to notice what she does that you appreciate, that's really helpful. So when we stop, we will get some appreciations for Denise, and then we'll do more questions and answers. And then if there's a few minutes, we might, if we have time, do some just suggestions for what might have worked better or what could be improved. But that's you figure that out anyway on your own. So not a high priority. Okay. Is that
Excellent.
feel okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I just want to appreciate how courageous this is of you, and how what a big offer, because you haven't been around forever, and you haven't watched all of us make idiots out of ourselves over and over so that you know that it's really okay, and you're just stepping in anyway. And so I just really want to honor that and appreciate it. And
thank you.
Yeah, and so you can share your screen, and I trust you have your map up.
I do. I have it up.
Okay.
I'll give just a few minutes before I share and just tell the why this is happening. So, and Christine, I have a really good friend who has taught me with improv to say I failed and just be open and be out there and embrace it. So I'm totally fine with this.
Good.
So I am working with 6 others to create something called the Healthcare Reinvention Collaborative. And if you've heard of anything called the 2 loops model, so it's the idea that systems rise, they peak, and then they fall. It's just natural. It's what happens. Healthcare is on that declining side, and we have been pushing really hard to try to keep it up for decades. I've been in healthcare for decades, and it is failing. And COVID just kind of ticked it over that edge, and people are falling out. The idea with 2 loops is you get to that top, and in the decline, people start to fall out because they know there's a better way. Then you need to network those people, because when each of us try to do something on our own, we just don't get as far, right? We need to be able to network and have an infusion of ideas, because we live in our paradigm. We don't know the big scope of things. And then we need to be able to gather people around us. So networking, and that's why we're leaning into the mapping and what can we do with this. I won't go any further with the 2 loops, but what I've found in the last few years, there's physicians who are saying, we can solve this, and they're gathering as physicians, nurses who are doing the same, all of these different pockets, but they're still looking at it from their lived experience. And we need to be able to network. So we're trying to create a network of networks, and hoping that visualization will help people to gain some awareness. Now, there's a lot more that we want to do, but we've started with, let's see what sumApp and Kumu can do, at least to get the ball rolling, and then go from there. So I will share my screen. Okay, so let me get it on a different view. So what we've done at this stage is we've got a group of individuals who have come to some of our events that we've held this year and who are in our digital platform. So we're also building on a community platform called Mighty Networks. And so those individuals are in our map.
Sorry, Denise. I didn't forewarn you. I apologize for not forewarning you. I might interrupt here and there.
No problem.
I want to say something, which is for those of you who haven't seen a social system map, as you're looking at this, if it's not, so we'll wait till Denise is done with their presentation to ask deepening questions or, you know, broadening questions. But if there's a clarifying question, like you're just looking at something and you just really can't move forward because you're like, I don't get this and I'm stuck on it, please feel free to interrupt and get unstuck before you get left too far behind.
Perfect. Thanks for that. And if you can, I'm not watching the hands raised or anything. So if you'll just let me know, I am happy to stop.
I'll help.
So for those who are new, you'll see as I scrolled in, now you can start to see names and faces of those individuals who have put their profile information in, or at least some base profile. So I've created a number of different views. You'll see here that I have the sumApp portion up, viewing the map from there, but I also have the Kumu map up. So if you want me to go to some of the code type back that I've been trying to play with, happy to go there as well. I'm going to go to the first view that is people and connections. And so you'll see everybody bouncing around and they'll level out. And you'll see that there's still some people. I'm going to go low again so you can kind of see everybody. You'll still see some people haven't come out here yet to update their profile or add their connections, and those who have done so are not connected with them. However, if we go close, we'll be able to start to see some people who have done connections. So I'm going to click on myself. And when I do so, you'll see my profile information here. But I'm going to click here so that it focuses in on just me. And of course, I'm the one with the most connections out here because I'm the one actively involved in building this network. And the majority of these people I have had connections with over the last couple of years. But what's really nice here is you can expand the focus. So that brings in people I'm connected with and their connections. Or I can do, again, go back to that narrow and look just at myself. I'm going to clear that focus and I'm going to show you that if you hover on a face, how it grays out. So you'll see here that connection I have with Kirsten. If I go closer so you can see it better, Kirsten hasn't come out here to do a connection, do her profile, but because I've connected with her, she's in my circle. The other nice thing is I can click on that line of connection. Oops, I need to clear this first. And you'll see here that the connection was made from me to Kirsten, and I gave it a weight of 3, or if I look in the connection types, a 3 is it's actually a generative interaction. It automatically alphabetizes this, but it's a generative interaction. So we've had some really good interactions. We have not collaborated, but Denise, a green, I'm
going to advise you to ping Tim in our Slack at Tim Hansen or Tim H, and he can how to put those in the order of strength as opposed to alphabetical order. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tim Hansen.
That's a new
mic. Writing that down. Thank you. Jim Best has been helping me with quite a few things, so he's been really helpful.
It's great to know.
So I'm going to show, Testy Testerson and I are connected, and when I hover there, you'll see that there's a 2-way. So Testy has also put in a connection as well as I to Testy. So here's the one that I did to Testy saying collaboration. And if I narrow again and click on this one, you'll see that Testy said the same thing, collaboration. There are some individuals like this one with Marlene. If it'll hover there it's hard to see because there's so much going on. Let me narrow in on Marlene. So you'll see Marlene said collaborator with me. I did not share the same back. So it's an interesting difference in perspective of our connections. But it's kind of gives you some insight into this when you start to see those types of things. And you'll see, I showed it a little bit, if there's a filter down here that's connection type. And so if I click on collaborator, now it's just sharing anybody who identified somebody else as a collaborative relationship. But you can also go here. I like looking at the acquaintance view because you start to see people, well, somebody came in here since, and so they've connected people, but we had a bunch of loose gatherings. There weren't where we start to say, okay, here's Paul's connected to Bill, connected to me. So our little connections were off in their own little worlds, but we're starting to get that a little bit cleaned up, which is nice. But this is a nice feature for us to be able to, one, identify in our network who is not connected at all, and how do we now start to make those connections, but two, what level of connection are we and how can we deepen those connections? Over here, you'll see I've added segments as well because I'm looking at those people who have actually become a member of our digital community space, or there's this group of us who are the core group working on this. And so how do we be able to look at us as a small group and maybe add in our advisors so we can look at that. So that's the one view, the people and connections. I love the geo view, though. In talking with Jeff a week or two ago, in their version 3 of Kumu, this is going to go away, unfortunately. So I'll have to find a different way to do it. But what's really nice is those individuals who have come in and given a postal code, they're now on the map location-wise, which is really cool to start to see that we've got a good group of individuals, which makes sense. This is where I live. So I have some individuals who tend to reside around me. But we have, if I scroll back out, we have representation in Ireland. So we are becoming global. And then all of those other people are swimming together down here. So until they put in a postal code, they're down here just having fun time out in the middle of the ocean.
Can I offer a suggestion?
Uh-huh.
When on our maps, Tim also puts that, you know, the connection filter that you, he puts that on the geo view. Defaulted to off, but you can turn it on, and then you can actually see how people are connected across the globe, as well as where they reside across, or where they're hanging out across.
Excellent. And you can kind of toggle that on and off.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're looking at, I've got 2 different views on event attendance, but I learned how to cluster. Jim helped me learn how to cluster. And so what this does, we have had 5 events this year. So each of these events, and they're just labeled here by the date of the event, but it's who that's on this map, it attended the event. So we had 50 or so people attend each event, but this is who are on this map. What I like by this is if I hover on myself here, you'll see that I was, of course, at all 5, but we're able to start to see, well, who was at each map. What we want to add to this, because I saw it on somebody else's map, is a way in somebody's profile or wherever it could be added where they can say, I met somebody because of the event. And so I'm exploring how to do that, because that's really what we want to be able to do. These events are informational or otherwise of value, but what we really want to do is extend the network as well as deepen relationships. So we want to be able to show that within our map. So let's see, if I go back to people and connections, no, I'm just trying to figure out which one has, so this one has a filter built in. So if I wanted to just pull out people who attended an event, I could do that. I'm trying to remember if I have, areas of focus there's a question asking what is their area of focus. And so I'm going to go this way right now, because not everybody has answered that question. So I but I'm hopeful that people are going to be able to come out here and say, okay, I'm really interested in health literacy. Who else is? So that they can look at this. And Christine, to what you just shared, if I could toggle on and off the connections as well, they might see who are they connected to, or who are they connected to, who's connected to, and they might be able to close that triangle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can show these elements as well if you, yep, okay. So when somebody comes in here at this stage,
Can I pause you for just a moment? So for those of you who are new to social system mapping, I'm just going to, I want to explain there's two different technological platforms that are being used. One is sumApp. sumApp gathers the data. sumApp is the survey interface, both for the information about the individuals as well as the information about the relationships. So that is all, you set up sumApp to ask the kinds of questions that you want to understand about your network, that you want to map. sumApp is the tool that my partner Tim and I have been developing for nearly a decade now. We just keep working on it, improving it. And it was designed for specifically this kind of mapping. That's the data gathering piece. When you're looking at a map, you're looking at the data visualization piece, which is what Kumu does. So Kumu takes the data. It doesn't take it, I'll say that better in a moment, but once the data is gathered, then it's represented in these various ways in Kumu. And Denise has taken the data from sumApp that's coming into sumApp and made different views. So she's slicing and dicing the data in different ways. She's putting the filters in so that she can tell different stories or look at the data in different ways and understand how people are connected from different perspectives. All of that is the setup in sumApp is totally customizable. It's totally set up. None of what Denise has done is what anybody else ever has to do. Everyone's map is unique to their context. And then what's in Kumu, what is visualizing, she has control over. She designs that in. She builds those various filters, the different views, et cetera. She's making those design decisions either by herself or with a team. And then figuring out how to make that work in Kumu. So there's a lot of flexibility in what's there, and there's also design decisions going into that. And the way these two tools, and I like to be really clear because it looks like they're all in one tool, and we want your end users to feel like it's all one tool. We don't want them to be having to remember what does what. That's sort of the mapper's job. So what you're looking at now looks like it's all in one tool, but it's actually two tools. And so first the survey in sumApp gets set up. As data starts to come in, there's a link that you take from sumApp and put it into Kumu, and then the data feeds live. It just continuously goes from sumApp into Kumu. So as the data is getting updated, within a few minutes, if I went in and made a connection on Denise's map to Denise, then within 5-10 minutes, she'd refresh her map and my connection would be there. So the data is going from sumApp into Kumu, and then we embed the map. Kumu makes it so that you can take a link from Kumu and put it somewhere else on a website, or in our instance, in sumApp, so that it's an interactive interface with the map that is living in Kumu. So it looks here like it's all one tool, but it's really a loop. Data is going from sumApp into Kumu, and then the map, the visualization is going from Kumu back into sumApp. So just want to clarify that, and how customizable it is. How it's not, there's no standard set of this is how it has to be done. It's all up to you. It's very flexible. So I want to make that clear as you get into, because I see those questions come up all the time for potential mappers. People who are just in a map don't need to know all that. But people who are thinking about social system mapping, thinking about making one themselves, for them, that's a really important set of distinctions. So wanted to add that. Thank you for letting me pause you.
Yeah, that's great. The other thing that I really like is all of this I can customize. You give us a nice template, which is lovely, but all of this, how we're talking with those in the map with us, completely customizable. you'll see at the top here that I've shared information about connections with 97 people. And that's, again, there are people on this map who I'm not connected with. The other thing, you can add your profile pic. So those dots that have pictures, they've added a profile picture. And then I like that you can do a little statement about yourself. So that shows up if I go back to the map and I click on, just a second here. So you'll see that little profile statement right here at the top. And then the answers to I've called it a profile. It comes from sumApp saying survey, but you can change that. And so those comments are here. So if I go back to the bio tab, again, you add that and you can either proceed from here, or at the top, you can just toggle over to your profile. And then these are those questions in the survey that I've added. And we're still kind of playing with this, finding a couple, what works and what are people willing to fill in. Christine, I do have one question. I use the URL type in the survey, but when I go to Kumu, to the map, oops, it didn't grab me. Sorry, just a sec. It's not coming in as a linkable. So see those?
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Kara, do you mind capturing that information and so I don't know if it's a Kumu issue or if it's a sumApp bug or what it is, but
Okay.
yeah, if you could just go into sumApp help and and just say @Tim, here's the situation, and then we'll look into it. And
excellent. I can do that.
Thanks.
Yeah. So again, in the profile, people are adding, this is where if they put the postal code, so I made a note to them that if they give me the postal code, they're going to get on that geo map. But they can give all sorts of information here. And this I can use in Kumu for some of those filters. And so this is all really helpful information. The one thing I'm scrolling because I want you to see I usually have this toggled off because I don't want people when they're filling out the survey to click and say they attended an event if they didn't actually. So I have this on only because our last event in June, I turned it on so I could add that to them. But then I'll toggle this off so that's still in the survey, but the individuals won't see it to actually respond to. So that a lot of little features that make it very customizable for you. And then this tab, now you can go in and make those connections with people. So you'll see here, grayed out ones are the ones that I've connected. I've said, yes, I'm connected to. When you click,
excuse me, I want to pause you. Just for those of you who are new, it might not be clear, but each person everyone who's in the member list in sumApp has their own URL to their profile. And so you can go back in whenever you want. So Denise has filled out her survey and she's said she's connected to various people. Everybody who's in the member list is showing up on these member tiles, and she can come back, and we want her to come back frequently to update it, to say I've gotten closer to this person, or I'm not working with this person anymore, to come and change them, or as new people can just keep getting added to the map. So this is not you have to have everybody there a one time, and if they didn't get in there at the right time, they can't ever be on the map, or they have to wait 2 years or something. It's not like that. It's like you can be adding new people every day. You can just be asking people to go back in periodically and find the most recent and share their connections to those. So the point was, oh yeah, and the reason I paused you was simply to say, everyone has their own unique link. So if you're thinking of this as the survey, it's everyone has their own survey. So to clarify that.
Perfect.
Okay.
So you're good. I just filtered it by recent. So those that I've not yet identified a connection to, I don't actually know these people, but if I click, you'll see that I can identify my level of connection with them. So maybe I was aware of their work. The nice thing here is you can only do one, and it'll warn you of that, and then save it. Anything else you'd like me to share from here?
No, just I was thinking, so when she's clicking on those different options in each of these different member tiles, that's what's creating the lines in the map.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where those lines are coming from, is the individuals themselves saying their own interpretation of their relationship to every other person in the network that they know.
And then you can, in the map, I change those lines to different weight. So how thick are they, or different color, so that it's visually enables your ability to see the connection level between people, which is nice. It's useful.
Yep. Yeah. This was great. I think you did. I'm impressed by how comfortable you are with it, and how you sort of went to the high, the high important things, and for a relatively new mapper, you're like, I'm seeing that we are somehow getting better at helping build capacity quicker, because you have a lot of capacity there, and that's great. And I appreciate Jim's helping you, and you calling that out. And that was great.
Thank you.
Really good job. Thanks.
It's the first attempt. We'll get much better with time, but you got to start somewhere.
Oh, you did really well. So, yeah. So let's open it up, and if their questions are for Denise about her situation, we'll have Denise answer them. But if they're overall questions about the process or the tools, I might invite Denise to answer, but I might just choose to do it myself, simply because if there's variables that I'm aware of, you might not be aware of them, or because I have made dozens, if not 100 or more of these. And but let's just go ahead and open it up to questions. And I see, Anapia, you have one.
Yeah, thank you very much for this introduction. I really love this tool because it's really visual, and also the possibility to add the profile, the location, makes it very easily understandable and provides a lot of information that sometimes when you are mapping with other tools like basic social network tools, these are all information that are missing. And according to the purpose you're doing it, this can boost, let's say, the easiness of understanding a network. I have a specific question about the weight that you can assign to your relation with other people, especially when there is an in and out connection. Like I am stating that I have connection with another person, and the other person states that has a connection with me, and I assign, for what I understood, I can assign a weight to my relationship with this person. So if for example I put 4 to the weight of my relationship, and the other person put a weight of 2, what is actually displayed? Is there an average, or how is this managed, let's say?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify, Kara, can you find that article, that post, Sean, the whose relationship is it, from my blog? Thank you. First, we're not literal. So the actual number of the weight is automatically assigned by sumApp, just by the rank. So if the weakest one will be a 1, the next weakest. So what you're doing is the people are choosing a descriptor, not a number. So just to make sure that that's clear. So that's one part of it. But what shows is each person's line. So when Denise was showing you that there was a line going from her to somebody, and then there was another line going from that somebody back to her, you can see the differences. And that is first of all, purposeful, systemically purposeful from our perspective, in that we have different perspectives, and to say, if you said a 1 and I said a 4, and if we averaged that, it wouldn't be reflected, it would reflect neither of our truth, first of all. And if you said a 1 and I said a 4, and I saw that you said a 1, that might make me think, oh, she feels very differently about this than I do. I wonder what that's about. It might be an opportunity for us to have a conversation. It might indicate we have different roles in the network, things like that. So Kara just put a link to an article that I wrote about that a while back. But yeah, it doesn't, it's just, it's the raw impression.
Okay, thank you so much for the clarification. Of course, I was missing something there. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? Questions? Other questions? Denise, you did a good job.
Well, thank you.
Christy, do you mind if you don't want to be called out, just put your hand up or something? But I'm just curious what brought you here and what questions, what's going on in your head, because I don't remember seeing you before.
No, I am a very new participant. Christiane Riley shared your tool or the information with me.
Nice.
So I am coming in. I have a number of different networks. I've seen social mapping from when I was at the University of Minnesota with the Human Rights Center, but I'm looking back into this kind of approach. And so I appreciate being here, and I appreciate Denise's outline. So yes, I was asking the very basics around, okay, costs and how one would begin to start setting up a structure like this.
Are there any specifics that are sitting high up for you, or are you just,
well, I guess I would love to know even macro, as you were talking about creating the tool, I think you said you created the sumApp and then you're partnering with Kumu. How many years have you been working on this and testing it out so that it's strengths? And then are there competitors or, I guess that's, and what should I be asking as I think about bringing this into an organization?
Okay, that's interesting. So I don't think I've spoken about that in this context before much, if at all. So my partner, my husband and I have worked together for almost 20 years in various contexts. I had a job where I did survey development and evaluation and data analysis, et cetera. And I had him help me structure the data so that it could be visualized the way it needs. Because you do a survey and the data is not in the right shape, and you have to clean it up, and you have to do all this stuff, and some things that are going this way really need to go that way, and you have to all this stuff to do. And I didn't have the capacity to do that, and he sort of wanted me to be happy, and so he figured out how to write code that would move things around. And so we developed this skill set together, him, me and my job, and him subcontracting under me. And then I quit that job and had one of those, like, I hate corporate life and meltdowns, and said, I'm not doing this ever again, and jumped off the loop of that upper loop. And then we were just doing various freelance data gathering, visualization work in various contexts of self-organizing, social innovation lab kind of. So we were in this intersection of data gathering and visualization and social change and self-organizing systems. So that went on from 2010 to 2015. And in 2015, a good friend of mine who was part of all that, and we had partnered with in a number of jobs, started bugging, well, no, he started bugging us in probably 2013, telling us we should build an app to gather the data. And we said, no, no, no. And finally we surrendered and said, yes, okay, fine. And we all started to think about, my friend Michael and Tim and I started, Tim, my husband, started to think about what would that take and how would we do that. And we just started to build it with almost no money, almost no savings, just built a prototype and then built another prototype. In there, we had started, one of our jobs had been to do a map for, we used LinkedIn data. At the time you could do that. Now they've locked that down. You can't link, but we did this thing where we could pull LinkedIn data and then we put it into a mapping tool called Gephi. Gephi didn't make me happy. And pulling the data out of LinkedIn didn't make me happy, but we did a couple maps that way for a very big event, and people liked what we were doing, but they wanted the data gathering to be more easy and user friendly, and I wanted it to be online and interactive, not just something that an expert could run and give you a still picture of. And so that's why Michael started to bug us to build the thing, and we started to build the thing. Kumu had come along right before that. As soon as Kumu, you could load data into Kumu, we started manually. At the time, we would manually download the data from sumApp and put it into Kumu. So it's just grown. It was not, no one had like this big vision. It has been an emergent thing. It's a very good example of adaptive action, in that we do a map, we discover all kinds of things we'd like to be different. We take a hunk of money from the client project and put it back into sumApp to make it be better. And it just has evolved that way. And so sumApp has been live since late 2016, super late in 2016, and was able to link to Kumu in late 2017. And we started the community practice, I think, in 2018 or 19. And the rest is history. It has just sort of started to, and it's, like there was a little while where we were pushing it uphill, and now it's kind of like, sort of feels like it's kind of at the top, starting to actually maybe get some downward momentum, or, like just, it's kind of gotten bigger than, not bigger, but more, I don't know, significant or something than we originally anticipated. Did that answer your question?
Yes, that was wonderful. And if I might ask one follow-up question that it made me think of. So we've been discussing, well, kind of a human rights trail markers, different things that are going on. And I was just in Jackson, Mississippi, where they had done a human rights trail or civil rights trail markers. Have you looked, or can you see how this could potentially be adapted to the non-human entities, so that if you were mapping out, let's say, sculptures, human right, or markers, so that you could show relationships, as you're dumping in data on that kind of
so there's ways to
network.
We won't well, for our purposes, humans are the baseline, or like they're the foundation of everything, because we make decisions, we're actors, we impact the system. And I call those non-agentic nodes. Those non-agentic nodes, we have a dual elements function where you can combine individual agents and collective agents. So you can combine people and groups, such as teams or organizations or coalitions. You can map in that way. The REAMP network, Sarah Shanahan, who's head of the REAMP network, she and I have worked together for a long time. We're currently working on a milestones, combining the organizational elements, as it's their 20th anniversary this fall, that network's 20th anniversary. And we're working on what we're calling a ripple effects map, which sounds like it might be kind of similar. And there's other ways of combining data, but it's really about knowing how to do the like the JavaScript to combine the data into places. Anyway, it's possible, and it's not going to be immediately obvious in sumApp how. So that would be a thing where if you had a big creative idea, you might want to hire some help, or you might want to come back to the community and really get some input on how to implement. And great. So just I know we're getting closer to the top of the hour, and especially for you two Italians, I'm assuming you're Italian. I don't know if you can tell from my name, but I'm partly Italian, are there any other big things up for you that would be good for us to touch on?
I have a question regarding the connection. Is there a maximum number of connections that we can draw, or we can draw as many connections we want in the map? Sorry.
When you say a maximum number, are you talking about a maximum of relationships from one person to another?
Yes.
Or because we can also you can ask more questions within a relationship. So there's two different ways you could have meant that.
In terms of participants inside on the map, in terms of people that we can add on the map, there is a limit or not? Is there a limit or not?
So within sumApp, the real limit is in Kumu. It's that Kumu at a certain volume of data, Kumu, the data has to go through the internet and has to render into the map in Kumu. And it gets to a point where it takes so long to render the data that the browser will time out because it lives in a browser. So there is a limit. It's based on Kumu's capacity. And we in sumApp designed sumApp. So if it's a dense network, 1,500 people so there's no way to say exactly how much, because if your survey has 500 questions in it, it's going to be a lot of data, even if it's fewer people. And you could have a lot of people with not a lot of questions, or a lot of questions in your connections. So, but the limit is 1,500 people, and there's no limit to connections. So, I mean, there's going to be a natural limit. You can't have like as many connections as possible between 1,500 it would be the natural limit there. And sometimes if it's not a super dense network, we will override for a little extra fee. We will override that limit if your network isn't so dense and it's still loading fine, and you have a huge network and you want, but that's a thing we could talk about if you get to that point. That was maybe a longer winded answer than you needed.
Thank you so much. So if I don't understand but the connection depends on how many questions I set up the survey, and the number that people, the maximum number of people is 500 people. That's right?
I'm not sure I caught what you said.
Right. The connection depends on the survey that I set up, on the questions that we ask for.
The connections depend on
the relation, sorry, the relation, not the connection, the relation.
Yeah. And there's no
use the wrong word.
Yeah, there's no limit. The only numerical limit is how many members, which is 1,500.
Yeah.
And then there's like a capacity technology limit that I can't define numerically, which is at some point it will slow down. You're muted. Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
I just playing with the mute the audio.
Yeah.
Does
anybody else have a quick let's try this. I'm gonna ask Kira, are you feeling well enough to do announcements?
I am up for announcements.
Okay, let's just go ahead and do announcements, and then we'll see who sticks around for the after half.
Excellent. So our next sense-making session, which is always on the first Monday of the month, will be coming up on August 5th. And then our OnRamp next month, we will have a map to share. Ben Roberts is sharing one of his newer maps that if you're in our Slack community, he's been messaging about recently, since their event will have come to a conclusion, or at least some of its conclusion, and we'll have some new data to look at and share with us. And then on July 15th, this upcoming next session, we have Tina Beck joining us to share a lot about her experience working with a map. She's had her map in her community for over 2 years.
2 years.
And so she'll be sharing more with us about kind of insights of having a map over time. And then Amy Moritz will be doing our tech talk at the end of this month. That'll be July 22nd. And she's sharing one of Tim's spreadsheets that he uses for either adding survey questions into your survey or also uploading existing survey data that you might have. And so it's kind of phase 2 of that series. I'll put some links in the chat.
Thank you. Oh, and would you also put a link to Mary's use cases table? I think our new people might find that valuable. This is a project that Mary, who's with us, Mary Roscoe, did, gathering information from all the years of all the on-ramps we've been doing since we started, and sort of codifying what's in them and what they're doing and not doing in them. And it has links to various sessions. So that's also really helpful. And so now we're at the top of the hour and we have a little goodbye ritual, which I'm going to invite you to do with us. It's very simple. It takes just a moment. As soon as we're done with the goodbye ritual, if you want to stick around, just don't jump off. But as soon as we're done with that and if you need to go, feel free to go on with your day. And so the goodbye ritual is we all unmute. So you could go ahead and unmute if you're going to do this with us. And I will count down. Oh, Richard, I see your hand is up.
No, it's okay.
It's reading mine today too. Like I'm gesturing and it's like anyway. Okay. So I'll count down 3, 2, 1, and then we just all at the same time out loud say our blessings or our good wishes, our greetings for each other for a good day, and then jump off after you've heard that from everyone. So 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much.
It was
so
wonderful.
Joy.
Have
have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Take care.